We've had 12 years of notional conservative majorities in Mississippi and almost zero progress made towards this. And I repeat the point I made earlier because it's worth emphasizing. The surrounding states around us have made more progress on school choice in 12 months than Mississippi's so-called conservatives have made in 12 years. We need to ask difficult questions as to why.
I don't know if any of those states have been doing it long enough to have some data that says this is the panacea that's going to solve it or increase education instead of the continued slide.
They don't yet, because Arkansas, which is the first to implement it, is only just doing it now. But other states, particularly Arizona and West Virginia, do. And it shows a dramatic transformation. Suddenly, everyone in that state has opportunities. The values in the education system are suddenly aligned with the values of the mums and dads and the parents. Because if you have school choice, you cannot have woke teachers and politically correct educators teaching values that don't align with yours and your families. It's the only way, incidentally, we're going to drive out DEI in the education system. So we are starting to see results both in improved standards and a realignment of values in those states like Arizona and West Virginia. Absolutely.
That curve is a lot like the charter schools, also in the fact that where there are schools, where there is school choice, the schools that are underperforming traditionally begin to perform like they're supposed to be.
Yep. It's amazing what a little bit of competition can do. But, in Mississippi, politicians will tell you, I believe in school choice, they will say. But then, they will cite charter schools. The sorry fact is we have a total of 10 charter schools a decade after the legislation was passed. The story of our charter schools is, why don't we have them?
We are beginning to focus our attention on how bad and how caustic the absenteeism in our state. Yeah. And we really haven't done that before, but now when you start looking at the data out there, the absenteeism in this state is dismal.
Instead of sort of Soviet-era type tractor production target data and propaganda telling us that graduation has improved, we need to put attention on the fact that currently over 100,000 children in Mississippi, 100,000 children in Mississippi are chronically absent. Forget your graduation rates. Why are 1 in 4 kids not showing up? The only way you can fix this is through universal school choice.
Well, how would school choice help as far as absenteeism is concerned?
Because you would be giving parents the ability to choose the education that's right for their child. You would be aligning their interests and the child's interests with that of the education they get. If 1 in 4 customers isn't coming into your restaurant, if 1 in 4 customers isn't showing up, it tells you you're not offering them the right thing. Give parents power, give them control of their tax dollars, and they will spend that money in an education setting in a context that suits them and their families. That's not happening at the moment. That's why these kids aren't showing up.
I do want to ask you about CON, though, because you guys have been working on this for a long time. Did we make any inroads to, as far as what your thoughts are?
A little bit of progress. We've gone from having a state legislature that would not even allow these things to come out of committee because the people appointed to the committee were on the side of the vested interest. We're now in a situation where, to the great credit of our new Speaker, Jason White, who is actually genuinely conservative and is actually trying to do authentically conservative things, he's holding an inquiry into this. A committee is going to be looking at this in November. And they're going to be asking the fundamental question, why do we have these so-called CON laws, these certificate of need laws? For people who don't know what that means, it's regulation that prevents the expansion of any healthcare facility in Mississippi without a permit. It's a sort of socialist system for healthcare in Mississippi. Why do we have a socialist system of healthcare in Mississippi? Wouldn't it be better if we got rid of those intentionally restrictive laws and allowed anyone who wants to set up a new healthcare facility or expand one to do so? Obviously, to me as a free marketeer, the obvious answer is get rid of the regulations. But it's good that for the first time we have an authentic attempt to remove these restrictions. But it does raise some fundamental questions as to what's been going on when a conservative run state for 12 years has allowed a socialist system of healthcare to be perpetuated. Clearly something is badly wrong.
Because it's been here a long time, it's so ingrained, and I understand that,
because
being
the good
a
old
native
boys,
Mississippian. But,
it's the good old boys and the vested interests and the cartel politics and the things that have been holding back this state for decades, and those things need to go. There's
Douglas Carswell, President of Mississippi Center for Public Policy. But Douglas, also, when you start looking at this, you kind of hurt feelings a little bit as far as Republicans or conservatives in the state, and that's okay. That's what you're here for.
Facts.
Well, when you start looking at things like the flag, the flag of the state of Mississippi, how tough that was. Never touched by Democrats. That was a big deal if you're a Mississippian, and still, many of the conclaves around the state, it's still a big deal and a lot of hurt feelings. That was a tough thing to do for newly into power Republicans to actually do. Monumental. Tax reform to the point of saying, we're going to cut your personal income tax. That was an easy thing to do.
It could have been eliminated. I mean, other states are moving towards full elimination. We still have a huge surplus. Okay. Why aren't we using that surplus to eliminate the income tax rather than just reduce it?
As you said before, and you alluded to, we've made progress to the point where some of these things, not only are they done and signed by the governor incrementally, but we've also had some that we've had discussions on that got out of committee, and some of them even got to the floor where we voted. Some of them didn't make it out of committee, some of them didn't make it on the floor vote, and some maybe not even made it as far as the governor's veto. But we are making progress on that.
Sometimes when things so-called died in committee, people talk about it as though it's a random act of nature. I think we need to ask, well, who is it who's killing it in committee, and who appointed these people to committee? And why do we have, for example, in the Senate, anti-school choice Democrats in committees that allow things to die in committee? Things die in committee because the people who run those committees choose to kill them, and people choose to appoint those people to committees. Why do we put up with this?
That's a whole ball of wax again, and you're absolutely right about that one. But then, as far as maybe a lot of things that are squirrely,